Free socks.
Squirrel.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Spencer. We're swapped around.
Huh?
We're swapped around again.
Yeah, but I know you do it on purpose. I wanted to go live 5 minutes ago.
We probably would have got booted off the internet if we'd went live 5 minutes ago.
We got to come out early because y'all are going to keep talking, and this stuff needs to be public right here.
No doubt.
They are funny.
Man.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hey, y'all, have you ever heard of a prison wallet? I hadn't. But anyway.
Girls got
to. Oh, man, hey.
Okay.
I promise you, it ain't those wallets. No, they don't carry debit cards in them either.
Yeah.
Listen, hold on. We might as well put them on.
We can't go off the rails today, y'all.
This should
we got to behave.
This should be a late night show. We got to get that back for a late night show. And
yes,
y'all,
sure.
This may go off the rails. So if you got kids listening to this, whatever, we're liable to get a little bit out there on this one. But anyway, so two people that are very, very funny and extremely knowledgeable and professional, but very funny. Mr. Robby Raines and Mr. D.A. Roberts. Guys, thank you for doing the show.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Now, go ahead. Just carry on. Like nothing ever happened.
I'm just waiting for the two knowledgeable, funny, and professional guys to come on.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
He's talking about us, is he, DA?
No, I don't believe he is.
Nah, I didn't think so.
Yes, highly professional.
If you don't believe it, ask my wife. She'll tell you.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Club.
And my ex will definitely tell you.
Oh, let's not. We could all do a show on exes too. Anyway,
she don't live in Texas though.
We definitely get booted off of YouTube then. Well, everybody, thank you. See all the comments in there. This is going to be a lively one. Squirrel, keep up with all the comments. If you have questions for them, Misty, just go ahead and star the questions or something so we can come back to it.
I will. I'm listening.
Misty and Greg kind of lined this one up. So, what are we talking about today? I mean, we started off, in all kinds of gray areas that I don't know we can talk about on YouTube. But Squirrel, what'd you title it?
Well, okay, this is the thing. I actually wanted to use the time before the show to talk to the fellas.
No, it's too late for that.
You got all squirrely on me, and it went way off the rails.
They were saying so much good stuff backstage. We had to go live.
Yeah, but no, I figured we'd talk conspiracies, aliens, flat Earth theory. I don't care. Whatever y'all want to talk about. I'm diving down the rabbit hole today, and you're gonna love it.
It amazes me daily how many people are really on the flat Earth bandwagon. I'm talking about they are like millions of people that believe in flat Earth.
How many of you think we live? It's like a snow globe.
It makes you wonder. I mean, it makes you wonder if we ain't like the big ant farm somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that scene at the end of Men in Black where it's like, as it spans out and it ends up being like the whole
Somebody's locker.
universe is in a marble around
Yeah.
a cat's neck. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm afraid we're hanging on a cat's neck. It's gonna get hit by a car.
Right.
We may already have gotten hit by a car.
Mm-hmm. Well, what up? All right, so here's my deal. I'll throw this out there at all these people that same thing they throw at us Bigfooters, those flat earthers. Where's the picture of the edge? I want them to like have a picture of where it draws the line, like let's see down off the edge or whatever. Look at that.
I ain't worried about that. I want to see video and then still have people question it and all that kind of stuff like they do. Anyway, DA, Robby, first of all, you guys had Greg on the other night. That was a great show. Not just because it's Greg, because it was Greg. That was a great show overall.
We want to get all three of y'all on too.
Oh my gosh.
That'll be like one of our late night shows. It'll just all go to hell if you let all three of us on there at the same
We
time.
go off the rails all the time.
I was about to say pretty much like a normal show for us.
Well, okay.
We start on the tracks, but shortly thereafter we
Yeah.
Oh,
There are lots of switchbacks and spurs on our tracks.
we're like the Derail Express.
Yeah. We can go sideways in a heartbeat, and this is liable to be one of those, but whatever. We're going to run with it. So, first of all, hey, everybody listening, Mark and Rebecca Green just had a very small get-together, meet and greet. I think it was Greg was there. How many people were there?
I think it was we had a great. Hey, look, they topped us at LBL because they had a dadgum group photo. We can't even do that, but I think it was 21 or 22 people in a group photo, and they had some more that it came by that we didn't get to see. So I know they had, I don't know, maybe 30 people came by or something, but hey, it was great. It was, it was a fun deal. We went down yesterday, me, Wanda, Colt, and Abby, and then Roger, Squatching Hollow Roger, him and Heather came. But we had a good time, y'all. Just great fellowship. Everybody hanging around, like-minded folks. They had some stuff go on. Yesterday, Roger and a couple of folks, they went out away from the group, walked down, I don't know, half a mile or so, and they heard some calls, heard recorded some stuff, got some pretty dang good recordings, and just what Roger got was with his cell phone, and just listening to it on the cell phone, it was really loud. So yeah, pretty impressive.
Roger sent the recording from his cell phone, which was a video, and then the audio had to be ripped from the video. And anytime, first of all, cell phones, they're nowhere near as good as a stereo microphone setup that's in a recorder, especially a really good recorder. And the microphones in a cell phone are nowhere near as good, just like in general. But the audio had to be ripped from it, and I did well, everybody should be carrying something like that. But I looked at it on the spectrograph. Hey, look, I won't play it, but I'll show you. Just so everybody sees. We'll let Roger play it. But if y'all have ever seen any of the audio that we present with the vocal signature, see that right there? That's between 500 and 700 hertz. It's got the right vocal signature. Coyotes kick in, and then there is another call. But anyway, I'm not going to play that on this show. I'm going to let Roger do that. But
you're supposed to put a red circle around it, Spencer.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no doubt.
We refer to that as bull
real
photography.
It won't be real if I don't. Anyway, so they have
art of blurry photos.
Yeah,
man, there are people making YouTube videos in the Bigfoot world now, and their whole channel is about like, this is pareidolia, and that's pareidolia, and y'all need to pay more attention, and this is how you can correctly identify pareidolia, which overall would be a good thing in the Bigfoot world. But at this point, if you're making videos about other people's videos and pictures in the Bigfoot world trying to explain pareidolia, it's already a lost cause. You know what I mean? It's gone too far already. So
Yeah. Well, and like I said, y'all, I mean, kind of the way we've took it and handled it, and because y'all, I mean, I've took pictures. I've tried to take not a Bigfoot, but I've took pictures, all kind of stuff, and they turn out terrible. And you try to explain it. Well, this is this and that's that. And look, I see a lot of pictures that sure it may be something there, but I wasn't there when the picture was took. I wasn't the guy that took the picture, and you're taking everything out of context. And you know, I don't ridicule nobody over their picture. I mean, I don't know what it was. I can tell you there's something maybe dark or something that looks out of place, but I can't 100% say, well, that's a booger man, or that's a dog man, or that's a ghost, or a dog with three tails. It could be anything.
If you show somebody's audio, I mean, I've captured stuff on high-end recorders. It does not do justice when you try to show it online in any format. I mean, it can't record the volume, the force, the environment that was happening around there. I mean, it's like it's a tiny little sliver of what was happening, but unless you're there in person, you can't really appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the problem comes in when people can't take the I don't see what's in your photo, even if it's I'm sorry, I don't see that.
Right.
And then people start getting mad, and everybody that just like Greg just said, you know, if you're not there, you don't know what to look at, and you don't know what to look for. You not necessarily going to see it.
Well, think about this, and that's what I'm
He's
telling
on the board.
when you're looking. Yeah, when you're looking at that picture, you're looking at that flat surface. Or if you're there looking at it with your eyes, you're seeing 3D, and that makes a massive difference.
We're all flat. We're on flat Earth. Everything's flat,
Yes.
and that's why nothing comes out the right way. Anyway,
That's what pilots will tell you. Ask a pilot that's been flying for years, see what they tell you. Earth's flat.
Not all of them, because my brother was a pilot in the Marine Corps.
squirrel.
Yeah. I don't know.
Squirrels.
I think she was trolling you, Robby.
What?
I think she was trolling you. Pilots don't say that.
No, there are some pilots that say, because my brother's gotten in arguments with guys in the Corps about it that have said that.
Wow. I can't believe a pilot who can see the freaking curvature of the Earth would even say that.
That's
That-
I've heard
right.
a lot of people say it.
That is not a joke. That is not a troll. There are people who actually say that, because my brother's gotten in plenty of arguments with people. He's like, it curves. Like, no, it don't. That's just a glare on the. He's like, it curves.
Well, the simplest thing to me is, you know, my dad, and not even this, but my dad was a charter boat captain out of Fort Morgan, out of, you know, next to Gulf Shores. Ride your ass 20 miles out on a boat and keep watching all the buildings. You can just see a little bit less and a little bit less till they disappear. That's the curvature of the Earth. You're going over the curvature.
The Coriolis effect. If you shoot a bullet far enough, the spinning of the Earth because it's round.
Yeah.
Yep. Any sniper will tell
Okay.
you that.
Okay.
What about
well,
the firmament?
About what?
what about the what?
The
What
firmament.
about the firmament? Yeah. Do you really think that they're able to shoot stuff out into space, or you think it's just hitting a firmament and just that's as far as it can go?
Well, not just that. I mean, we have telescopes. We can look at other planets. So, what is it? Every other planet in the solar system's a sphere, but this one?
Yeah.
Or it's all flat and just happens to stay at that exact position so that whenever we see it, it's always a globe. Anyway, well, we're stumbling upon the conspiracy theory thing.
I'm
So-
cutting out. Hold on.
Say something. Squirrel.
Can you hear me?
Unfortunately.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yes.
wow, I've got a bad. It does this every time the show starts. It's fine backstage, but when a lot of people start getting in here, I don't know, my internet just starts going crazy.
Men in Black.
What show was I was just watching some YouTube show that was about Bigfoot, and they were like, dude, it was Bigfoot Society. And he was like, man, this is weird. And the guy's like, yeah, it's the government pretty much. So again, we're going into the conspiracy theory thing. Let me ask y'all, since there are 3 of you on here right now that are all law enforcement, has been Leos, whatever, still are. Okay. If you can, have you ever been directed not to publicly talk about cryptids of any way, shape, or form? Have you ever been actually called out and said, hey, you don't say this publicly? And if you can't say it on this show, just like nod your head or something.
The only thing I can say is I was told back during the academy that there are certain things that if you put in a report, you're probably going to wind up taking a urinalysis and a psych eval. So you don't want to put anything in your report that's going to get your credibility called into question. So, unless you've got dash cam footage of a freaking saucer coming down and stealing a cow, probably not going to put that. Just strange lights, unknown lights, that kind of thing. So you just kind of pick and choose the verbiage you use in your reports. I mean, like for example, I mentioned that I'd gone to report calls where last time I was on the show, I mentioned that I'd gone to prowler reports, and that's just how I put it in the report. Even though I was pretty sure it wasn't a person, I just put it down as unknown prowler.
But does that have articulation? Do what, Robby?
It's called articulation.
Yeah. But does that have a cooling off effect that makes you careful about anything that you would say publicly, even whenever you're not on the job? Okay, let me put it this way. Whenever you're not working, right? Whenever you're off duty at that point in time, right? Are you careful about everything that you say to other people, whether it be like religion, politics, anything that would be controversial? I would expect since you're law enforcement, you have to maintain an image that you're kind of impartial and everything, right? I mean, because you're law enforcement and your word is taken in a court of law. So it would damage your credibility if you came out and said anything way outlandish about like aliens or boogers or anything like that. But is there do you think, here, let me put it this way so that you're not under an X-Acto knife and a microscope. Do you think that there is some higher power that leans in and whispers to your superiors and says, hey, if any of this stuff comes up, squash it. Don't let it out there publicly. Is that possible?
I think it's entirely possible, but to me, the far more likely end of it is departments don't want to sound crazy. They don't want to lose their credibility. They, especially smaller departments, they don't want to go on the record saying it was an alien, it was a Bigfoot, it was a chupacabra, because then the media is going to get it. They're going to make fun of them. And frankly, we've got a hard enough time in the media. The black eye the media is giving us anyway. And when I was active, there was a specific policy in place in our department about social media. You had to be very careful what you posted. I posted a picture one time that I'd taken in one of the secure areas, but you couldn't tell. All you could see was that it was just me and part of a wall. But within an hour of me posting that picture, one of my captains saw it and called me. He's like, yeah, you need to take that down. I'm like, there's nothing in it. He says, doesn't matter. It was taken in a secure area. Take it down.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, I think DA is right. I mean, and I think a lot of it is where you are and how your department handles. My chief's former ATF, so he's He's been federal government, and he knows that he's actually even watched some of the stuff that I do. So he knows, and he's fully aware of my obsession and involvement with this, and he's completely fine with it. But by the same token, the department I worked for before, they weren't, because they were all image based. You know, you'll give the department a black eye. Chief Beach doesn't care. He's like, that's what you want to do, and you're having fun, do it.
It does vary from department to department. I mean, there's no way I could get the sheriff from the sheriff's department I worked at. There's no way he would go online or go live and talk about something like that. But my old chief out at Walnut Grove, I was just talking to him yesterday, and he's going to come on the show and talk about some of the weird shit that he's found in his career.
Wow,
there you go.
He doesn't care, and the city of Walnut Grove doesn't care either. So he's just going to come on the show and talk about it.
Yeah,
but safe to say. What did Robby just say? That term, what did you say, Robby? Image based? Is that what you said? So it's safe to say that everybody, for the sake of credibility, is maintaining a certain level of distance from anything that would happen for the sake of, you know, higher ups in politics and image based, like what he just said. So, I mean, it's not like we're crazy saying that whenever people go on YouTube shows and they talk about, hey, the feds came up in black SUVs and tinted windows, it's a possibility. And we would never know about it because they don't talk about it. I mean, we only recently had that hearing in Congress, in front of the U.S. Congress, talking about UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call it, you know, and that was pretty eye-opening. Whenever you have pilots and captains that are over there going, yes, this is a real thing. We documented it. We don't know exactly what it is. We don't know how to classify it. And then it just kind of got like, you would think that would be headlines all around the world for the next like 6 months. Hey, there's something out there. We have officials talking about it in Congress. And then it just like went away. They had the congressional hearing, and it was just quashed after that.
Well, there wasn't too long ago that one was shot down over Alaska, one over the Great Lakes, and another engaged somewhere over Arkansas. And Robby and I went live immediately after that broke the news, and there was a C-SPAN channel going live with State Department and guys from the Joint Chiefs. And it didn't show up anywhere on TV.
I believe
it was like a back channel on YouTube.
Yeah, it was their Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was Super Bowl.
And you know, normally we're all about the same age. When something come through the White House and they were going to make some kind of announcement, it cut everything off.
Yeah,
you couldn't watch anything. They used to tick me off more than anything. He called me. He's like, man, he said it's buried on the backside of YouTube. He said nobody's talking about it. He said, you want to go live? I said, absolutely, let's go.
And the real weird part about that is within a day of that video going live, it was gone.
Yeah.
Sounds typical though.
And that was State Department and Joint Chiefs doing the live.
Yeah, I believe the SecDef was in that meeting too.
Well, just simply saying, if they're going to cover up a laptop, they cover up UFO stuff. But anyway, Bama.
Hey.
So I was talking to Bam, yesterday? And just happened to be chit-chatting with him. He asked who was coming on. I told him what it was about. And for everybody that doesn't know, Bama is like, he's into the whole UAP and everything. And he was like, man, I got some stuff maybe to add to this conversation or some questions to ask and everything. So I sent him the link. That's why he's on here. Bam, you can jump. Bama, you were law enforcement. Did you ever get a mandate to tell you had to be careful about what you talked about whenever it comes to the strange stuff?
I think First of all, hey everybody, I'm watching the chat over here, and glad to be on with these two guys also, DA and Robby.
Oh, not
One,
everybody else. Fine.
well, one time, now I work really urban areas. In fact, I worked the same project complex for, probably 18 years. But we had a lot of suburbs also out in there. And the closest thing I ever got to anything like that was a buddy of mine went on a burglary call. And he got there, and he had been there a little while, and he called me to come over there. And I did crime scene stuff too. So I, did prints, took blood, whatever. So I go over there, and I said, man, what do you got? What's missing? And he goes, well, there's nothing missing. He goes, but there's things she says there's things moved around in the house. And this was in an apartment complex, and this was on the second or third floor. I can't remember how tall the building was itself, but she was the place had a balcony to it. But he kind of did a report, and it's one of those deals to where you kind of write, unknown point of entry, suspect unknown. I mean, y'all get all that. You just kind of write it. Pending further investigation, not knowing if anything's missing at this point, that type of thing. But he called me over there, and I said, man, what do you got? And he goes, man, this is really weird. He goes, and I know that you are kind of into, ghost and paranormal stuff. And he goes, when this lady got to talking to me, I kind of got the idea that she thinks that maybe it's haunted, an apartment, of all things, which you would kind of find very odd. You always think of old houses and stuff like that.
Right.
And of course he went on and I stayed and talked to her. And man, I looked around every window because me being logical, I was trying to find any way anybody could get into this place. And she said that even when she was there, sometimes she would go to a different room and something would be moved somewhere else, like a small object, or maybe something would go missing. And then she'd find it later on. And of course, you also have to, when you're talking, these guys know this, when you're talking to somebody like this, you have to take into account maybe the mental illness factor that might be involved also. But this lady was, man, she was, really smart and incredibly sane. And but we did the report, left, and I went to the rental office because this was Action Area town that I lived in for almost 30 years, and talked to the lady there. And I asked her, I said, how long has this lady been living here? And she told me, and I said, well, what about before that? And she told me before that there had been a woman lived there that had moved in when the apartments were built, literally when they were built. And she was an elderly lady, and she lived there and rented until she died in that apartment there. And of course, I went and told my sergeant that, and not that he wasn't open-minded or receptive. I mean, especially coming from us. I mean, we were pretty good at our jobs, but just that didn't go on a report. Oddly enough, one of the guys I worked with, he kind of has a ghost hunting group that they go to some pretty big places, and I went with him to a couple of places like Civil War era homes in Williamson County, Tennessee, where I lived at. And he does lots of big stuff up there, doing stuff, ghost hunting, stuff like that. But no, we didn't put it in a report. And it really wasn't worded anything like that. I mean, we've gone to lots of places where people would come home and find stuff moved around. You just didn't know how somebody got in or something like that. But man, that's the closest thing I can come up with. But yeah, that's that story.
So, speaking of like haunted places and everything, DA, Robby, you ever been somewhere that you thought was haunted?
Yeah.
No,
Tell me about it.
There's an old hospital here in town. It was built in 1908. It's changed names a few times, but when I was still a deputy, I was also working as part of the hospital security staff because they wanted all commissioned officers there, and I worked overnights for them, and did it for about 3 years. And they have a new hospital on the south side of town and the old one over here in the middle of town. And I was working the old hospital one night, and it's mostly a teaching college now with an emergency room and some psych floors. It's not an active hospital anymore, but it does have an ER and the psych wards. So I'm walking through the old part of the hospital. Most of it's just offices and shut down now. So I'm checking doors and walking through here, and you go down the main hallway past the offices, and you turn right, and it goes down past the old chapel. And there's only one way in and out of the chapel. There's the entrance from the hallway, and then there's down that same hallway is a door that goes outside, but it's always locked because it's not a regular exit, it's an emergency exit. So I'm walking down this hallway, and I'm like looking around, and I look into that chapel, and I see an old man in a black suit in the back pew with his head down praying. And I stopped and went, "What the hell? There's not supposed to be anybody in this building. It's been secured for hours." So I doubled back because it just didn't click what I was looking at as I stepped past that little hallway. So I ducked back in there. Again, only one way in or out. And if somebody had gone out that emergency exit, it would have sounded an alarm. So nobody's gone past me. Nobody's in this long hallway, and I go straight into the chapel. He's not there. So I'm looking around. I look under the pews. I look in the little closet at the back. I look up underneath the pulpit, all that area up there. Nothing. There's no place an adult could hide that I couldn't found it. Not easily. I mean, there's no place to really hide in there. So I'm like, okay, maybe I was just seeing something. And I'm a little creeped out at this point. So I finish the round of that part, and I go back up to the main lobby of the old original hospital. And I just happened to glance up at the wall, and there's this huge oil painting. And I've looked at it a dozen times, but never really paid any attention. There's this huge oil painting of the founder of the hospital up on the wall, and it was him. It was the same suit, the same old man. And I did a double take, and I'm like, time to go. I need to be somewhere else. And that's not the only paranormal experience I had in those hospitals. There's a lot of weird shit goes on in hospitals.
Wow.
I believe
hey,
that.
Spencer, check this out. You probably hadn't talked to Billy Schilling in a little bit, have you?
Not for a few days.
Apparently, from what I gathered, with him and River were doing as River says, a yarn. Billy got to experience with River what me and Misty saw with River. The curtains in his house pulling out and stretching out, and but the thing about it, when Billy Schilling saw it doing a video chat where the curtains came out like there at that window, Billy got to see from what I understood, an apparition like from here up, to the point that he could tell River that it was a lady, and she had on a yellow turtleneck shirt or sweater. And so this has been like within the last few weeks.
Well, though, that goes into stuff that we have talked about pretty extensively with like people having experiences and going, I know there's something there. Something growled at me, something threw something from there, broke a branch, made some kind of noise, saw a light, whatever. They look with their physical eyes and can't see it, but they pull up like a thermal or a night vision or their cell phone, and they're able to record it or see it with some of these modern digital devices. I don't know how to explain it other than is stuff on a different plane, a different level, a different dimension that we don't perceive with our physical senses, but it's there. Maybe there are times where you get glances into that dimension or something, But like what you were just talking about, you know, River's got his phone going or the camera on the computer going,
Yeah.
and Billy can see it, but River can't. That kind of stuff in the Bigfoot world, that happens a lot. And it really makes you question, is all of this alien, supernatural, the boogers, the dogmen, the chupacabra, whatever, all of it, is it all connected where it's on a different realm and we just don't perceive it unless you're highly sensitive or something like that? I don't know, but it makes you think that way.
Well, let me throw this in. Look, a couple of years ago, I guess now it's been a little while. I got a phone call. I was supposed to went with Coonbo and Jimmy Osmer. They was going out boogering.
Yeah, that's a good story.
For whatever reason, I couldn't go, and they went over on Natchez Trace over toward Mississippi, or maybe an edge of Mississippi. And Jimmy calls me, and he's like excited. And they had just left this place. They just got back in the truck and left. But he's like, neither me or him, he said, me or Coonbo cannot explain what just happened. And they had called in a booger, and it came out into a opening, a field that was just grass. You know, it came out of the wood line. It came to them, came out, was vocal. They were looking through the thermal and could see it. It came out of the wood line through the thermal. He said, you know, it's upright. The heat signature, they're looking at it. And this thing is like 50 or 60 feet away. And it's out there standing in the field, like walking back and forth or whatever. Well, Coonbo takes a spotlight, like a 1,000,000 candle power spotlight, lights the field up right there. Jimmy's looking at it through the thermal. He lights it up with the spotlight. The field's empty. And he's like, where'd it go? And Jimmy's going, it's still there. And he's looking, and with their eyes, they could not see it. But you could look through the thermal, and the thing was still in the field. And they were handing the thermal back and forth, shining the light. But with that spotlight, looking with their eyes, there was nothing in the field. But he said you could take the thermal and look through it and see the thing plain as day.
Well, what did you just say about here? I think you were talking about on DA's show, where you pulled up to the man cave. It wasn't that long ago, just a couple months ago. And you said that the booger almost, it's like it was absorbing.
Okay, that was just a few days before we went to LBL. So we're talking 4 or 5 weeks ago. But yeah, when I pulled up, and you know, I'm looking up past the man cave in the yard at the wood line, and it was, my headlights went around to the curve, and my truck went over the rise, and it levels out, and the lights are shining past the man cave at the end wall at the wood line, which is only feet. I'm talking, y'all been here, it's 30 feet past the man cave. I'm always looking. Every time I pull up, I'm looking all around just to see. And y'all, till the thing moved, I didn't see it. It was nearly like if you're looking at this screen and you had something black blocking it. And it was like, because the wood line, you know, you got the gray part of the trees and there wasn't hardly any leaves, but it's like gray and black. And it's like this black void. It takes off and it's going, it's upright. And honestly, it was kind of like, nearly like the silhouette on this sign behind me, this yellow sign. It was just, I couldn't pick out details. But this thing was massive, upright, over. I know it was over 8 foot compared to when it went by my porch roof out here. I watched it go about 30 feet from my, like straight in front of me to my right. And it was like it was just absorbing the light. There was nothing shiny about it. It was just like a void, like you had erased part of the vision, or part of my vision, is that thing went across. And y'all, it was unbelievable how quick it was. Now there's no doubt in my mind what it was, but it wasn't like the light was hitting the hair on it and it was like shiny or reflective and I was getting details. No, it was nearly like you had erased with like you had done an outline on a video and you had just made that all black and it was just a black image that streaked across. Mm-hmm. But it happened unreal how fast. But I mean, if the thing had stood still, that's what freaked me out. I didn't pick up on it till it really moved. And once it moved, it's like, oh my God.
That
Yeah.
at
I think
Mark
that
Green.
just goes to strengthen our theory, DA, about the adaptive camouflage and the clear hair follicles, because that's exactly what that would do. It would depending on what kind of background or area it's in, it's going to absorb, or it's going to make it look just like the video we watched with MK Davis, the Freeman footage.
Mm-hmm.
It was black walking in front of green, and it stopped and freaking disappeared. It didn't step into a portal. It didn't teleport, anything like that. It just stopped moving, and as soon as it stopped moving and it was completely still, it disappeared.
On
Until it started
on that level, Robby, is it more believable to think that something has adapted to where their camouflage, like their hair, can absorb light, or the way that they hold themselves? Okay, think about this. We now know that you can take out a certain lens behind a flat screen TV, and if you bend it at a certain angle, you pretty much become invisible, right?
Mhm.
If you're looking straight at it. I mean, that's low grade technology compared to today. I mean, God knows what the government has. But if you're talking about a species, some type of creature that their whole life is built off of remaining hidden from both the prey that they would hunt and other predators and everything. I mean, they would move around at night, stay in dark places, be well concealed, be very adept at being sneaky and coming in unseen and everything. But here's my thing. Physically, we find tracks.
Mhm.
Every once in a while, we find hair. We have reports, anecdotal evidence, but it's reports from thousands and thousands of witnesses. I saw the thing walk across the road. I saw the thing carry away a hog or a bag of dog food, or I saw it tree peek. I saw it step out in front of me. Is it easier to believe that they have become adapted to the point where maybe they have some kind of camouflage thing that we can't explain, or that they just jump in and out of portals at will? Which, if you could do that, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you could do that, why would we ever see them? Why wouldn't they just jump into a portal and we would never get video of them or anything?
Let me give, and I'm gonna steal this from DA because I've heard him say this plenty of times, so I'm giving him credit for this. If even 1% of these things had us on the menu and they could do that, we wouldn't be sitting here, because they would be portaled in and out of our houses, for a microwave meal. So, me, in my estimation, in my opinion, and how I feel, because I'm a flesh and blood guy. I'm a, where does the evidence take you? I get the evidence, and the evidence takes me to my. I don't have an opinion and then form the evidence around that. So, my thing, and I've said this multiple times, you've only got to look in nature to get the answer to those questions. What is in nature that we already know, that we've already got scientific proof and studied and all this stuff? Let's look at the simplest thing: a polar bear. If you shaved the polar bear's hair off, what color would it be?
Yeah,
it'd be black. It's not white. The hair is not white. It's clear. Why is it that way? Well, where does it live? It lives in Antarctica. Eats on
not Antarctica.
Excuse me. Yeah, it feeds on seals and things like that have to come up these ice holes to get air. It has to lay there and not be seen, so it has to look like its surroundings. So when it lays there and doesn't move, the seal's looking up, doesn't see the polar bear. It just sees what looks like an ice floe. That's how it survives. So that's just the simplest example. But there are species of owls that can stand on a branch and blend into the tree that you won't even see them until they blink their eyes. The walking stick bug. There's a shark they call the carpet shark that blends in with the seabed. It's in nature. It's already there.
Yeah.
Just the doll sheep video.
Yeah, the doll sheep video. We've showed that on the show before. There's a guy hunting a doll sheep, and he takes a shot at it from pretty good distance. When you can only see one sheep in this video. He takes a shot at the sheep, misses wide left or right or whatever it was, because you see the bullet ricochet on the rock, and then 30 sheep jump up out of from nowhere, and it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, you never knew that were that many sheep in that video. And, Thad's right. I'm not denying that portals exist, but let's look at this with Occam's razor. Generally, in most cases, the most simplest explanation is usually the right one. Like, for example, one of the things that used to drive me absolutely crazy when talking to people at even people I would ordinarily consider credible researchers, they would say I was following tracks. And they got to the middle of this field and they just disappeared. So it must have went through a portal. I'm like, yeah, that is your logic train that the track stopped. So it went to a portal. Could it have jumped somewhere? No, we're in the middle of a field. Could it have walked back on its tracks? No, that's impossible. No, it's not. Animals in the animal kingdom do it all the time.
Grizzlies, rabbits.
Could it have jumped and gone on all fours and leaving different tracks than the typical footprint track?
Well, Robby's a tracker. Robby's a trained tracker for his department. And when him and I got a chance to get together and he started showing me some of the things like the pressure ridges and the way weight distribution works on a track, I thought I was a pretty good tracker before because I've tracked many a deer, but I learned a lot just hanging out with Robby that, in just a few hours that I never learned growing up deer hunting. And the way those pressure ridges work, and Robby can explain it a lot better than I can, but unless you knew the things that Robby knew, the things he was taught in tracking school, most guys that just grew up in the bush like me, but in the sticks tracking deer would never know to look for that kind of thing.
Well, we got Robby talking about polar bears being in Antarctica because he got that from you, and we got you talking about Robby's tracking skills. Maybe we just let you talk about the polar bears and Robby talk about the tracking skill. Robby, tell
the best.
Well, all right, think about this, guys. I thought about this a lot. Think about the first dude that went and found a chameleon lizard and got to telling his buddies about it. They thought he was nuts, but could you imagine when he grabbed this lizard and put it on something green and it turned green, pick it up, put it on something gray and it turns gray. And it just, that poor little lizard, they bounced it all over everything they could find, showing everybody.
Yeah.
Put him on a flannel shirt, and it goes, I can't do plaid.
No doubt.
What? Hold on, though. On a serious note, Robby, if you do tracking for your unit, or you did, so seriously, that's a big question in the Bigfoot community. I'm sure you guys have talked about it on your show, but I've never had anybody explain it where I could understand it. Number one, it's a big thing about, okay, I see 3, 4, 5 tracks and then they disappear. If they are walking backwards in their tracks, or if they're taking 5, 6 steps and then they do something that changes the trackway, whether they jump up in a tree, whether they get down and crawl on their fingertips, whatever. Number one, why would they do that? Like especially walking backwards or changing their pattern, because that would show a thought process where they're like, oh shit, I'm leaving tracks. Let me go ahead and back up and camouflage it, conceal myself, which I can believe that. But
grizzly bears do that. That's how many hunting stories have hunters talked about? So if a grizzly bear can do it, couldn't a primate with a lot more intelligence?
Our special forces are taught to do it.
Yeah. I mean, if we could teach a person to do it, what's something that's born with a natural ghillie suit, does not want to be found, and spends its life actively trying to avoid the hairless monkey with the boomstick?
Would you? But hold on, though. Before we oversimplify it, so you see some tracks, like, for example, out in a field after it's rained and the grass is cut really short and there's enough mud and everything, you're seeing 2-inch deep tracks, okay? There's 20 of them. Then it just stops in the middle of the field. Why would they do it in the first? Just your thoughts, just your opinion. Why would they do it in the first place? If they were worried about giving themselves away, I mean, I could see it if they were trying to misdirect somebody that was like trailing them. but why would it even be there in the first place? And then also with the micro ridges and compression aspects and all that kind of stuff, have you ever seen anything that validated that?
Well, first off, as far to answer your first part of your question about why, I mean, I think if we knew the answers to questions like that, we wouldn't be having some of the discussions we have, because who knows? Who knows why they would walk out in the middle of a field and be like, "Oh crap, I'm left footprint." I don't know. I honestly cannot answer that question, because that's just be in the mind of a of a Bigfoot, a booger, a Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it. I don't think there's any way to be able to answer that question. But what I can answer, and this there again, this is my opinion. This is not. There are no experts on any of this stuff. This is just based on what I know, what I believe. My theory on this is, if they think that somebody, something, whatever might be coming after them, I think they're smart enough to realize, okay, leave this stuff or whatever this is. I'm gonna lead out in the field a little bit. I passed a big rock about 15 feet back, 20 feet back, whatever.
50 yards, doesn't matter.
50 yards. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, jump up on that rock, and then I'm gonna jump in the trees and go about 30 yards that way down, and I'm gone.
And we all know they are very good climbers.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think then it's just as simple as they look down and go, "Oh shit, I made a mistake," and then they just backtrack and disappear again into the other stuff where we can't really see?
I mean, it could be as simple as that. Who knows? I mean, anybody that says this is the definite answer is selling you snake oil, because there is no definite answer. Because I don't know. I can speculate and say that yes, Spence, that might be a plausible explanation for why they do that. Is they just happen to look down and say, "Oh man," and obviously they're probably not saying it that way, but they realize that they've left some kind of sign. Anybody or any other predator can follow. So.
Or it could be a deliberate attempt to misdirect. They're trying to lead you away from where they're originally planning to go.
Could be that.
Now, hey, that brings up.
Go ahead, Spencer.
I was just going to say that right there. I never thought about it that way, but that brings up a really interesting point. We believe that they travel in family units, right? Mm-hmm. And they've probably got the kids, and maybe the young ones are out doing the guard detail, but they've probably got the kids in a safe spot. I mean, just like any species, you protect your young. Absolutely. That brings up a good point, though. Could it be intentional, to throw anybody that would be in an area off the track so that you're looking, a trackway goes this way and you're looking that way and you're spending your time looking over there. But in reality, the family unit or whatever they're trying to prevent, the area that they are trying to prevent you to go to is actually back over here. And they are smart enough to go, hey, let's misdirect them. Let's lead them out this way.
Let me answer that with the question you asked me, Spencer. What's easier to believe? That they're smart to do that, or that they walked into a portal just because they can walk into a portal? I'm not saying portals don't exist, but
right.
I don't believe that they use them. So here's the thing. Occam's razor, like DA said, that right there is a very sound, plausible. I would almost put money on that being a reason that they do it. That's one of the most sound theories I've heard.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'm sorry, let me speak English. My little porky pig sticking out. But Robby and I will on our show, we'll never say that, what people refer to as the woo, the portals, the cloaking. We're not going to say that's impossible, but it's far more probable that it's a terrestrial solution to it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's highly improbable.
Yeah. And, just to bring it all in, Bama, Greg, y'all both former law enforcement. Bama, when you did an investigation, did you start at point A and go straight to point Z? Or did you start at point A and work your way to point Z?
Exactly.
So that's
If
the
you,
point.
if you showed up at a crime scene, somebody calls to do a well-being check. You roll up to a house and you look through the window and you can see this dude's dead in his recliner. Through the window you can see he's dead from a gunshot wound.
I've
But he
seen
doesn't.
it.
But he
Yeah.
doesn't have a gun in his hand, and the house is locked from the inside. Is your first conclusion? Oh, somebody must have walked through a portal and killed him.
No, I know what you're saying, and I know what I would think too.
You
But
just
yeah, you're right.
you have to work when you're doing these things. You have to work in a certain. You can't say, like DA said, you can't start at point A and go, oh, that's point Z. That's the answer. Because what happens when point Z doesn't work out? You can't go anywhere from there.
Yeah.
You're stuck.
First of all, Greg,
it's-
what were you going to say? You were going to say something.
Well, what I was going to say was just, with these things, the thing that got me the most woo factor for me with these things is one of the biggest things was when I saw the first one, how the thing moved. Because to me, nothing on the planet should move like what I saw move, especially for it being that big. Because, I watched this massive, severely massive creature. It stepped out of the woods. When I first saw it, it was upright, and it steps out of the wood line, and it's upright. So the first thing popped in my head was it was somebody, a fellow hunter or hunter, because I was having to work that day, and I was pissed off because he was hunting and I was working.
But it was somebody.
Yeah, I thought it was a person, but this thing was, a few hundred yards down the road in front of me on the shoulder. But it stepped out, and when it stepped out, it squared up. It turned to face me. I was getting its left profile, and when it turned toward me, its legs stepped toward, like both legs. I'm looking sideways. Squares up, and it drops down, and its arms flare out, and it like compressed. And it just got massive when it did that. And I'm like, oh my God. And, that's when it clicked. That's not a person. And then it's like it drops and it's like, oh shit, I'm caught. And it steps to go back in the woods the way it came. Well, it like sways its body weight and it's like, well, heck with it. I can make it. And the thing pivots. Now it's still kind of crouched and it pivots. And this thing launches from standing still. As it pivots, it kicks off of one leg, and that thing flies through the air. And I swear to God, it looked like when we were watching a $6 Million Man as kids. This thing launches from down here. It went up a bank, and then the paved road's up here. This thing is about 20 or so feet from the asphalt at a 5-foot elevation to the top of the asphalt to the road surface. I watch this thing spin and kick, and it doesn't run. It doesn't take a couple of stutter steps. No, it kicks off of one leg, and this thing flies through the air, and it lands in the road on the asphalt. And I tell people, I say, back up 20, 25 feet from a normal car, just a regular car. You got a 5 foot to the top of that car, back up 25 feet away from the door. Stand there and think, if you or anybody you've ever seen could stand dead still and face the same way as the car and this turn and face the car and kick off one leg and land on top of that car and be running. When you hit the top, you running away at about 3 times the speed of a normal human or an Olympic sprinter. That's the craziest, wildest thing I've ever saw in my life. This thing flew through the air. And the speed, the agility of the way this thing ran, I saw it cross the road. In its stride, it crossed another ditch. And it's like the stride just got a little bit bigger. And it just like glided over that ditch and just kept going. But that's the thing for me. Like if somebody's finding tracks in the woods and let's say they're following impressions and they're 4 or 5 feet apart and they stop. Well, okay, did that thing jump up into a tree? And even if it's 15 foot to a tree, I saw this thing jump 20 plus feet and gain 5 foot in elevation. So how far could it actually jump from being dead still? And let's say it's running. If it's running and jumped, how far could they jump in that one leap?
And
When we're talking 30, 40 feet?
Look how far primates can jump. I've seen videos of like little rhesus monkeys kick the crap out of a grown adult. I mean, they're incredibly strong. Chimpanzees are on average and on a magnitude of 10 times our strength. Now, scale that up to a primate, 5 times our body mass. How strong are they going to be? How far would something like that? Yeah, a person's not going to jump like that, but something with that kind of muscle index, God knows what they're capable of.
Look at
Stop it, Wendell. Stop it, Wendell. Carry on.
Just like I said earlier, look in nature what's already there. Look at leopards that climb up a tree with 100-pound antelope in their holding it in their mouth.
Yes.
I think, Greg, I think a lot of people get so focused on, well, a human couldn't do that. Well, yeah, we couldn't do that. As far as the animal kingdom goes, we're the weakest, and the only thing that gives us the edge is our minds. That's it.
Right.
If we had to survive based surely on, strength and things like that, we'd die. Well, animals can do. I mean, how many times have you ever watched hunting videos and seen a white-tailed, and it's majestic, but see a white-tailed deer walk up and look up to a 6 or 7 foot high barbed wire fence and just kind of barely raise them front legs off the ground.
Yes.
And it looks almost magical to us in a way, because we can't do that. How does something that big do that? And we get lost in that kind of thinking because we can't do it.
Yep.
My sister's cat would set at the base of a door and then just go straight up and land on the edge of the door, then perch there. I mean, it didn't like prep, it didn't run. It would just be sitting right next to the door. Then all of a sudden, whoop, up on top of that door, that little son of a gun was. And he did it all the time.
Bam.
Yeah.
I was going to say, go ahead. I was going to ask you a question. Carry on.
It's been a long time now, but I did a show. I can't remember if it was on Larry's channel or on Mark's channel. And we were talking about stuff like this. I can't remember what the title of it was, like How Smart Is Bigfoot or something. But basically, I was taking all these extraordinary animals in the world that had all these great talents and kind of making a comparison, because like you said, Nate,
we're not talking about that.
We're looking at nature, well, y'all were talking about who was it? Greg was talking a minute ago about a chameleon. Well, you know me, I'm OCD, so when I get to reading on stuff, I got to research it. And I got to researching cheetahs and octopus. And if you watch it, there's lots of documentaries now on octopus, believe it or not, because those things are probably one of the most intelligent things on Earth. And if you look at their camouflage skills, and I even got into reading as to how they change those colors and stuff, it is unbelievable that any creature on Earth can do that. I mean, it's really crazy what an octopus can do, and the intelligence is involved. And the other thing that surprised me was I was looking at stuff like lions, these big giant cats that lay around, and relax most of the day. Most people don't know a lion can run 50 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. A cheetah is strictly scientifically made for speed. The way its nostrils are made to intake air, the way its spine's made, it's not too far-fetched to think that, we're dealing with something that's way more far advanced than that. Just like Greg said, no other animal could do that, especially one that people don't get to see or they haven't identified. If you see, I've watched these, who was saying this a minute ago, these big leopards, they will take an animal that weighs 200 pounds and climb up a tree and lodge it up in there. Yeah. Well, you also don't realize a leopard will jump off into 10-foot deep water and grab a caiman, a big species of alligator, and drag it out onto the bank. So like, I always think about stuff like that. I'm not saying that I don't believe in portals and things like that. And the whole time y'all were talking about the footprints ending, that was the first, before y'all ever even hit on that, I thought about that. I thought,
that's
how many
what
stories have we heard?
About.
Yeah.
Hold on. You're the only person on this show. You were there with Shelly and Patrick and everybody, and they relied on you whenever they found the trackway at LBL because you have a forensic background. You've been going out with us for years now, just as long as I have with everybody that we associate with.
Yeah.
You saw those tracks. The tracks were cast. It was quite a bit of them. And
I'll show you one. Go ahead.
There apparently was an adult and a baby or a juvenile or something like that with your forensic background. Now, you sat there and looked at those tracks in person, and they were fairly fresh. That's the one. Now, do you, being law enforcement and a professional that dealt with forensics, you look at that, you saw the tracks. Obviously, you know, it's something physical that did that. So, you know, does that to you? Is there anything in your head that makes you go, oh, okay, this is a creature that can jump in and out of portals? Or is it a physical creature that is making an impact in the earth where you see those things? Guys, all I'm saying is, I think to a degree, I'm not saying that portals don't exist. I'm just saying I really doubt the validity of boogers moving in and out of portals because a lot of the evidence suggests otherwise. What did you think about the trackway? Did it change your thoughts on anything?
There's lots of people listening on here and watching this. Some people that were at that trackway. Spencer missed it, I think, by a couple of 2 or 3 weeks or something like that.
One week, it was about 6 days, and I was mad.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I have got, just because of OCD or neurotic or something, and I have a lot of attention to detail. Man, I've gone back and forth in my mind over it since we saw the trackway and casted all the tracks. And for anybody who doesn't know, this was a long trackway at a gathering that somebody found, but it was a trackway that had been there for maybe a week or so before we got there. But by the sheer amount of tracks, and even though we had taken the remnants of a hurricane from the Gulf then that had come up and rained on the tracks, there were still a lot of them that were pretty preserved. This is what I always say. Man, I looked at those tracks and the way they were laid out in the mud, there just seemed to be, if they were all exactly the same, I'd have thought a different way. But they seemed to be different, as if one of us had just taken our shoes off and started walking across there, because there was all different type of substrates that it went through, and sometimes it was stepping on mud that had gravel under it. So there's a couple of them where it stepped on mud where there was a stick underneath the mud, so the footprint had actually gone over it. And when I looked at those, oh man, I won't say who this is, but probably about 6 months ago, I sent somebody a text. And I just said, man, I want you to be honest with me. I said, do you think that trackway was legitimate? And the person sent me back a text and they said, 100%, no doubt in my mind. And they said, and they asked, they said, why do you think otherwise? And I wouldn't say then, and I won't say now. I think it was just something that was so hard to believe, even though I believe when you really, like they were talking about a minute ago, when you really see the physical evidence, I don't know what I'll do when I see one. But when you see the physical evidence, I really stood there in that spot, and I literally in that spot, and I get a little emotional talking about it. And I just thought, gosh, one was here. I mean, it walked right here. And I'm standing here where it was.
To the question that DA said, or the point that DA made not that long ago about you don't look in the window and just assume anything. You don't go from point A to point Z. Okay, you've been at LBL multiple times. Your own experiences before you got mixed up with this bunch of hooligans. You had everything like screaming at you and breaking branches and all that kind of stuff. You've been with us. I've still got the audio of the first time whenever you were out there with us and the thing started screaming after Larry did a call. And I show people audio of you going, what the fuck is that? And like, okay, so you got all that. Then you found a trackway and you're still so logical where you're like, there ain't no way. I just can't convince myself.
And listen, at that spot where we've camped and even where we had the meet and greet at, we've had so many things happen. We've had so many vocals and things. And the campground where the trackway was has had lots of reports. I mean, lots of witness reports there that I just found out about after this meet and greet, because Kel and I camped over there 4 or 5 days before the meet and greet. So we'd already been there a week. And I've been at that spot before, and I've heard what I think were tree breaks, not knocks. And so there's lots of things that happen there, or that have happened to me, where I believe it. I believe in. I try to be like these guys. I follow the science of it and the evidence of it. But there was something about, I don't know, that trackway. It's almost like I wanted somebody to go, it's okay for you to believe this is it.
There's Patrick. There's Patrick right there commenting.
Yeah.
Because Patrick and Shelly found the trackway, saying Bama and I said the same thing about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
and it's sad, but
whoever asked how far the stride was, Patrick saying 42 inches. He was there. I wasn't. So
yeah. And here's this is one of, there's an original, and there's 3 of these. Patrick has one. Shelly Reed has one from the Reed Noble Trackway.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first one where it really she'd come down out of the woods, and we assume it was a she because there were some small prints there. But there was a log. And how many years has this been now? This has been 4 years. The log is still there, but it's deteriorating because at my campsite, I literally can look across at it the whole time I'm there. And but this was the first track where she came down and really walked it. If she wanted to go over that log, she would have either had to crawl under it, or it was about yay high and she would have had to step over it. So she literally just followed down this log and left all these sets of prints. So this really was one that was one of the, all of them were good.
Yeah.
People hope their whole lives to see one print as good as the 15 or 20 that we saw out there in different muds, different gravel. That's what made it great, was you could see how that foot reacted to all those different things.
So, Greg, with all the experiences you had for how many years? 9 years or so before you actually laid eyes on the one that walked out on the side of the road?
Yeah, it was about 9 years before I finally saw one. And that's what I want to throw in here, like Bama talking about how bad he wants to see one. And that's the thing that people don't understand. You got people that get out here like Bama does and put boots on the ground, drove thousands of miles, spent countless amount of dollars trying to, and like Spencer. But here's the thing, guys. Like, okay, we're all in agreement that LBL is a very active place. Okay. Like for me, the thing with me is active it is here, and there's many encounters that I've had. I've caught glimpses that I don't count, and they're still few and far between. But now, as of right now today, I have saw 4 that I got a good sighting of. That's 4 in 24 years that I have said, there he is. Oh my God, there it is.
That's because Greg is a slacker, y'all. If I lived where Greg lived, I'd have had 100 encounters by now. But anyway,
Yeah.
carry on.
No, you'd probably been torn limb for limb, and your lower anatomy would be reamed out about that big.
That's because Misty and I wanted to go camping where the trash campsite was. But
yeah, no. But that's what I'm saying, guys, is look, these things, even here dealing with what I'm dealing with, and that think about it. It would be like what I'm talking about living where I live. That would be like one of you guys going and living. Like you build a cabin in Colson Hollow or Red Hollow, or going up to Daniel Boone down there to the campground that everybody likes to stay, or past the campground. Go down there and build you a cabin in the woods, and that's just your home. That's where you're going to live for the rest of your life. I mean, you're putting yourself in ground zero where these things are at all the time. So, I mean, that's the only reason that I've had all these encounters. I mean, that's it. But even though all the stuff I've had happen 4 times in about 24 years that I've seen them and go, there they are. And it ain't like I was going, well, today's the day. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to have a camera. I'm going to have video, blah, blah, blah. No, we're talking 4 times in 24 years. I mean, you don't know.
Robby.
You know, I'll say this, and then I want to get off here. And you mentioned this, I think on your last show, Spencer, you said of all the places I've been, Alabama is the most boogery place I've ever been.
1,000%.
And I didn't think much about it till I moved back down here. But I mean, Alabama, they call it the Amazon of the South of all the states in the United States. Yeah. Alabama has the most diverse ecosystem of any state.
Yep.
You can be up here where me and Greg's at. You can go over here to Bankhead National Forest, the land of 1,000 waterfalls. Yep. And then you can drive a few hours and you can stand in the salt water on the sand.
That's right.
You can get bit by a dang copperhead like one of our friends did up here last week. Or you can go down to where it's sandy in Florida and, get bit by an alligator or a water moccasin. So I figure that even though I've been to LBL so many times, everywhere I go down here are little rural roads in the country. And I probably expect to maybe, if I have maybe even a better chance down here than I do up there. Especially I've been working on a farm lately. And that's been in a family for generations. And it's surrounded by natural springs and swamps and just, so y'all saw some videos, man. When I get out there early in the morning, man, I'm hitting those plowed fields, looking for tracks and stuff.
If you consider Bama, if you consider everywhere that you've been all over Tennessee, North Carolina, North Georgia, Alabama, you had experiences in LBL. And a lot of us have.
Mm-hmm.
But down there where you are now, you look at that terrain and everything and think about that compared to LBL and some of the other places. What's the name of that one section of forest you go to in North Carolina? Got that giant tree. I forget the name of it.
That's called it's close to Robbinsville, North Carolina, where some of the show Moonshiners is filmed on the Discovery Channel. And that particular forest is called the Joyce Kilmer Memorial National Forest. And that's part of the Nantahala. So, and when you get down there, you realize why they go and film dinosaur movies there and why they film, The Fugitive there and all these shows where they're outside. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Bigfoot, that show, I forget who starred in that movie. That was filmed,
Elliot. That was horrible.
That was filmed
2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That was filmed in the Nantahala. But here, this is just where me and Kel go walk at every day. There's an abandoned airstrip, and it backs up to the Sipsey Swamp, which comes way down through
Bankhead
and way on up there. So, where we walk at borders on square miles of nothing but just swamp. And, so it's really, it's boogery down here.
But
I just don't get to talk to too many people about reports. I need to start doing that. I need to just put something in I need to put an ad in this itty bitty once a week newspaper down here and see what happens.
You're gonna get crazies like Misty gets crazies. Anyway, hey, my point would be though, just say, okay, you can go, fine. Just saying you're in a great area now. If you look at all the conditions around where you are now, man, it's 3, 4, 10 times more active, better than LBL. And we had stuff happen at LBL, Daniel Boone, North Carolina. Where you're at now, man, that's a hot spot. Nobody talks about Alabama. Not enough.
I've got lots of reports from childhood friends growing up that never, of course, they never mentioned it back then, but now they've told me stories. And I had the man over in this adjoining county from me that's had them there for generations, and he let me come over there and snoop around, and that was super interesting listening to those stories. So there's all kinds of stuff, going on around here from a long time ago. So it has to still be going on today, because really not much has changed down here. But anyway, man, I'll let y'all go. And DA and Robby, I'm so glad y'all were on the show.
Us too. It's good to meet you, man.
Yeah, good meeting y'all too. And Spencer and Greg and Misty, I love y'all. And man, y'all holler at me anytime, and I'm gonna jump off here.
Thanks, Pam. Bye.
Hey, love all y'all. Everybody in the chat. See you guys.
Well, we love you too. And I hope we didn't get to talk aliens. So.
Yeah, I know. I was just, man, I can talk about anything. Man, I'm like Greg. I can just talk about anything.
Bama, everybody wants to know who got snake bit. There's 20 people asking.
Okay, nobody got snake bit at camp. Okay, there was somebody here in town. Here's what's funny. Well, it's not funny, but sort of. The person gets snake bit by a copperhead that their cats got here in town. They didn't know that it was a copperhead until finally the wife did some research and pictures and stuff to convince the husband, you've been bit by a copperhead. Now, it's a chicken snake. It's not a chicken snake. So they go to our local hospital, which is 2 minutes from here. And that hospital told them, go to a different hospital. We're too busy in the emergency room. Damn. So as they leave with their flashes on, the police pulls them over. And the police goes, and I've pulled people over for going to lots of emergencies. It's just different where I was from, where I worked. And the police says, where are you going? They said, he got snake bit, copperhead. And he said, well, the first thing he told him was to put a tourniquet on it. Now, when DA and Robby hears that, their hats should fall off their head.
What? Do not tourniquet.
No.
This person told them to put a tourniquet on it. And just so happened that the person, has something to do with the city council down here. So they informed the person, I'm not putting a tourniquet on it, and I'm leaving right now. And they took off. By the time they got there, the guy, this had almost been going on for 2 hours. And she's some type of a nurse, and she actually went in the back thinking that it would save him, and had some EpiPens in the back, and she hit him with a dang EpiPen. But by the time he got there, they had to stop, and they life flighted him the rest of the way to get to the hospital.
I'd sue that hospital that turned him away.
Yeah, it was.
I'd sue them into oblivion.
Well, it's funny because I said, why? And they said, well, she said there was 20 people sitting in that waiting room. I said, on a Tuesday night. And I said, why is there 20 people in there? And she said, well, I kind of know the receptionist. And the receptionist said, well, our doctor isn't that great. He's kind of slow. So that was their excuse to sending them on to Tuscaloosa and trying to drive that themselves. And that's probably 55 miles away. But anyway, it wasn't anybody at camp or anything like that.
I'd be getting me a lawyer, and we'd be dealing with that hospital.
Yep. Put a tourniquet on it.
You don't
Hey,
go
guys.
right.
Wrong idea.
I'll see y'all later, okay?
Have a good one, man.
You too,
Peace
man.
out, guys.
See ya.
Bye, Bama. Thank you.
Where'd everybody go?
I'm going to try to turn my camera back on. I
Oh,
don't
you
know.
left
We'll
the
see
two
what
other
happens.
ones
It
on.
may cut off. I don't know where everybody went.
You just leaving
All
me
right,
and Robby
fellas,
in charge.
look,
We're in
I
trouble.
just got to say one thing. Portals are real. I don't care.
I'm not saying they're not.
Bigfoot may
we know
not come
CERN-
out of them. I don't know. But
That's
we
what
know
we're
CERN
saying.
has
no,
opened
no,
a
no,
portal.
no. I
mean,
know.
portals are
I'm just
definitely
saying.
real.
Spencer always. Yeah, no, I definitely am iffy on the whole, that's how they travel thing. But I have seen one myself, and let me tell you, what came out of it definitely was not a Bigfoot, y'all. So now you can take it for what you want. But oh, I see him. He's coming back. Everybody, where did Greg go? I had to run in the house and turn the internet off to see if I could get better signal.
No, I'm not coming back. You carry on the show.
Well, I can do it without you. Let me take you out. Hold on.
All right. Bye.
Y'all, listen, I do want to say something, though, about the alien thing. I was talking to Robby the other night, and I sent him some pictures of some stuff that was going on here at the house. And he sent me a link to a show that he had actually done on his channel. And he was like, listen to this. These people, pretty much had the same experience and everything, almost word for word as what was happening to you. Now, I don't know what it was. My phone sucks. It didn't take very good photos or videos, but it was the craziest thing ever. And I see it here all the time. And it'll start out and in the video, it'll be like you can see it like spinning in the whole video. And it's got like a dark spot in the center of it. And then out of nowhere, it'll just go away. And then it comes back. And then if you're taking like stills of it, like I'll catch lights, like just like streaks of light moving, and it'll be gone. Then it'll be back. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that they're real. I'm not saying that they're not real, but I'm saying I don't know what in the crap I'm seeing up in the sky.
Remember the video that Lindsay sent me that we put on the show, DA? That's what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
Well, guys, going back to the aliens, government, the conspiracy thing, let me ask you a really simple question. I mean, you guys have a YouTube show, and I imagine that you talk back and forth via text message, and you get friends that are like in a clique that you communicate with and everything. And we've already talked about like the cameras messing up and the battery drainage and all that stuff with boogers, everything electrical, and or maybe it's not boogers, but whenever we go out looking for boogers, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, point being, you guys have a YouTube show. Do you have weird stuff like we do where it just things go crazy? They go sideways. It's like you have the internet go out. I'm just going to say this. I've said it before. I don't know how to explain it, but my computer crashed a couple years ago, or maybe not even that long, maybe only a little bit over a year ago. And like half of my pictures and 2/3 of my audio were gone. Everything else came back up. It's weird little stuff like that. I'm like, damn, is the government really watching, interacting? Y'all ever have weird stuff like that happen?
Oh, yeah. We've got a running joke on our channel. If anything glitches, somebody in chat will inevitably say that damn satellite. We were talking about the Black Knight satellite in orbit.
Oh my God, we need Tumbo on here now.
We started having all kinds of technical issues, and we've noticed that when we start talking about certain subjects, we have a lot of technical issues. When Robby was broadcasting live from LBL, we had multiple devices fail, and it wasn't until they hooked up direct power from a running car with a power inverter that they were able to get on and actually do the show. All the batteries on their devices failed. Laptop failed, phone failed, and a portable battery bank that was at 100% went dead in just a matter of seconds. So
Yeah.
we've had a lot of weird stuff happen, but it does seem that when we start getting close to certain topics, we have more glitches than we have at other times.
Hey, Robby, when you were at LBL at the meet and greet that we had, I'm not going to go into detail or anything, but you were out there with a handful of people that was doing certain stuff, shooting video and recording and all that kind of stuff. Did you say, was there any battery failure or anything that occurred with all that kind of stuff?
When we were out there doing that, no. But when we were, before we left to go, what you, me and Greg talked about, before we went, that's when DA's talking about when we had, it was, because we were doing the show prior to us leaving to go do that. And that's when he's talking about all the battery issues.
Really?
Yeah, while y'all were over there talking at the campfire, we were over on the, we were actually right in front of Kumbo's trailer. And we'd set up on that little park bench right there. You remember where the plane had landed? The little Catalina or whatever it was. Yeah. We were right there, right where he took off from. That's where we had set up to do the show. And that's what he's talking about. We for 30 minutes before, because we're like, okay, we need to make sure everything's working good.
Do sound check, video check.
Video check, because we were using wireless microphones because somebody had a generator right over there beside us. If we'd used our regular microphones, we wouldn't have been able to hear. So we were given those wireless noise canceling microphones. So we were just, for 30 minutes, we were sitting there talking to DA and Steve, and everything was great.
Signal was strong. Everything was fine.
Yeah. Well, and laptops at 78% when we got ready to start.
Is that the only time you've ever had that happen? Or is it a fair? I mean, at this point, me and Misty do a lot of the technical stuff backstage with like run the YouTube show and everything. But I mean, I've been out in the field and had stuff happen. There's stuff happening now on YouTube and like group text and everything. It's just weird. It's just weird. It randomly hits. And I know a lot of people would be like, oh, that could happen to anybody. It happens to us a lot. It's weird.
When we went down to Joe Bald, the batteries in my FLIR exploded, and they were brand new.
And both of our phones, or my phone completely died. His started losing power. But like little Patty pointed out, most of the time, about right at the 2-hour mark, DA, my audio would just cut out. I've never changed
all the time.
Setting. I'll have to close out, back out, and come back in. And
You've said enough. That's it. You're cut off.
Yeah, that's what it'll do.
It was right after we did that show with when we were talking about the black satellite, the Black Knight satellite, that my computer, my desktop computer, just bricked. It wouldn't power on, nothing. I had to buy a completely new PC. We ran the show from my laptop. We jokingly called it the crap top for a while, and it just barely handled it.
Yep, I remember the days of the old crap top.
On a completely different note about conspiracies and everything, y'all don't like Alabama white sauce, do you?
Never tried it.
Good for you.
Say that. Look here, Spencer.
Robbie,
look, Rebecca hates mayonnaise, and she actually found it. It's pretty good.
That's not
if
what
it's got
she
mayonnaise
said.
in it. I'm good.
Oh man.
See,
the only barbecue sauce I've ever tried that I didn't particularly care for, and it's nothing against Robbie, it's the Carolina style, because I don't like a lot of mustard and stuff.
No, that's not Carolina sauce. That's the mustard sauce. It's a whole different thing.
Oh my god.
Well, look, he brought it up. Regular that's called golden sauce or mustard sauce. Regular
You brought it up.
Okay, well, I did to a degree, but anyway, Greg by extension kind of led into this. But if you're going to talk about barbecue sauces, all I'm simply saying is there should not be mayo. That's salad dressing, or that's coleslaw dressing. That's not a barbecue sauce with mayo in it. But anyway, on the mustard sauce, the golden sauce, Carolina mustard sauce, whatever. That's not the atypical Carolina sauce. But anyway,
There's one that's made with vinegar too, and I cannot stand vinegar.
Oh God!
no, look, there's vinegar in every
Smell of vinegar in
barbecue
my
sauce. There's vinegar in every barbecue sauce. How you
but not
ain't
so much that it's overpowering.
The thing about
No,
vinegar,
that's typical Carolina sauce.
the vinegar that I can't stand is people will use malt vinegar. Oh, that's nasty. Like when people put it
Oh,
on
like
fish.
on the fish?
Oh,
yes.
y'all would hate to go to Long John Silver's with me.
Yes, well,
I can't even stand the smell of malt vinegar.
I've
I
seen
love
you
me some
eat.
malt vinegar.
I've seen you eat a couple times. I'd hate to go anywhere you're eating.
Lord, I put that stuff on my fries, my chicken, my fish.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh
look
my
at-
God!
hey,
Look,
you need to put super fly. Look at there. Super was there yesterday. He got him some.
no, that's because you're from Alabama.
I
Yeah.
prefer my barbecue sauces to have some heat to them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Misty, do you like?
My
So
family
you love the malt vinegar?
Oh
you
yeah,
do?
well, it goes all over everything. My fries, everything. My hush puppies. I'll take a bite off my hush
Right,
puppies, then I just feel
No.
full.
Hey,
No.
hey, Spencer. I'm thinking maybe Misty likes malt liquor too. Reckon?
No, I don't think her penchant is towards any kind of alcohol. Personally, ask Patrick about her stuff. Anyway,
No.
okay. White sauce. No, no, no.
Oh God. MRE. Hey,
You can go away.
I'm a fan of MREs.
Who is this?
Look at that.
Bama.
Hello,
That's
Spencer.
Bama.
I'll take a big old pass on the MREs. I had enough of those in my life.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, that gets you,
Bye.
hey, Bama knows. He knows. Yes, that white sauce is
Pretty much.
like holy water. Yes.
Pretty much. Well,
You missed it. Hey, you missed it yesterday because I wound up. I smoked 40 pounds of pork, and
I saw the pictures.
I guess by the time it cooked down, they was probably still 30 pounds of barbecue. But they
The
knocked
pictures you and Spencer posted, I was fixing to take a road trip.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
it looked good. Your wife posting pictures and tagging me in them was exceptionally great, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Hey, look
Asian
here.
sauce.
I'm telling. Look, the next. Look, but like I said, y'all, that outing yesterday, we just went and stayed, during the daytime. But Spencer, the next outing, if you're not doing like a couple of them was there, walking around bonding with nature barefooted, look,
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna
always
get
like Hillbilly, but I'm wearing shoes.
Greg, come on.
that. Hey, Wendell was brave in the wild. He was brave in the wild. I'm just glad he kept his pants on. He's running around barefooted.
It cracked me up that Wendell got windled. Someone took a picture of him whenever he was completely unprepared for it.
Oh
Look,
my gosh, y'all.
Y'all
That is
think
so
I'm kidding?
funny.
The next meet and greet we have, I've got a hard hat in here that some of the power company guys, I guess, dropped it and left it. Whatever. I picked it up out of my mom's yard. But I swear I'm taking that hard hat from the power company and I'm gonna bolt the GoPro on top of it, and we're just gonna put Wendell with like one of those surveyor vests, reflective vests. We're just gonna turn him loose. He's just gonna video everything.
Before this show is over, though, we would be remiss talking about barbecue. Made me think about all the chickens and everything. DA's got a really good chicken story. But that's probably gotta be saved for a late night show.
No doubt.
Between DA and Robby, we didn't get to ask you last time you were on. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen while you were doing the police work?
God. Do I have to just narrow it down to one?
No.
Craziest thing I ever see. Huh. Well, the story that I told right before we went on air, that one's pretty crazy. I don't know if that was the craziest one. funniest one was when I locked up a father and son for public disorderly conduct. They were both high, and they stood out there at the back of the patrol car crying to each other. Saying, "I love you, Dad. I love you too, son." Well, me and my partner were like, "Guys, y'all getting in the back of the same car, going to the same place. You're gonna see each other. It's not like you're going to different places."
And they were high enough to hunt ducks with a rake.
They were.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I've said
high.
that for years.
That's pretty high.
I guess the craziest one was a chase we got into.
Of course,
And,
Misty would laugh at that.
We got into a chase one night. His truck was stolen. And it went all over the place. I think all told it was like 26, 27 miles. And never really got that far out of the city because it was just like up and down and back and forth and all the way around. Well, they finally come back around on the back side of the city where opposite side from where the chase started. And I was a canine handler at the time, and we had the sheriff's office with us too. They had joined in. And guy behind me, good buddy of mine, he's actually a canine handler now. He worked for the sheriff's office. Well, he was on my passenger side, he was on the driver, or closer to the driver's side of me, so he couldn't see the passenger side of the truck. Well, as we're chasing them down in this field, they bailed out of the opposite side of the truck. So the truck was still running. So the truck starts veering off. Well, I saw him bail out. He couldn't see him. So as I slow up and stop, he goes around me and was going to block him in, I guess. Well, the truck just veered off into the side of him. Well, everybody else had bailed off and took off chasing him. And all of a sudden we hear on the radio, he's calling in the sheriff's office, get out or to get him some backup. He's got him at gunpoint because they just hit his vehicle. And the sergeant that was with, he called him on the radio, he called him by his unit number, and he was like, there's nobody left in the vehicle. They've all, DA and Greg probably know the term, bush bonded. Like, yeah, they've all four bush bonded. We're our term for chasing is 10-0. We're all 10-0 on foot. He's up there drawled down over the side of his car, holding his gun on an empty vehicle because the vehicle just turned and bumped into his car, and he thought that they had hit him. So he got kind of joshed about that for a pretty good long while. How'd that ghost dude driving that car? How'd they do that to you? It was funny. I guess it was one of them had to be there moments. It's just to hear him sit there calling out on the radio, and then his sergeant like, ain't nobody left in that vehicle. They're all running in the woods that way.
Greg, you ever played the challenge coin game with people for drinks?
Oh boy,
no, I don't think so. We're doing challenge coins.
Different agencies would exchange coins. I got a stack of them up there. And when I was in the military, you would get challenge coins from like your command sergeant major and stuff. And there was always this game you'd play when you'd go to a bar with cops and other military. Whoever had the highest ranking challenge coin would lay that sucker down, and everybody had to buy him a drink. I mean, you would all compare like, oh, I got a SecDef, and I've got this and that, and I've got a General so and so, and I've got a Joint Chiefs, and whoever had the best coin, everybody had to buy him a drink. Don't play with Robby. You ain't gonna beat him. He's got a presidential challenge coin from Trump.
Holy shit!
Boy, woo! I thought play JB on that one.
No, that's not legal tender. It's funny money.
No doubt.
Still though, that's cool as hell.
That is awesome, dude.
He's grabbing it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Robby's got like a safe in the corner. I saw the other night where he had all these knives. He was bringing it. He's got the challenge coins in there.
No doubt.
Hey, you got to keep them safe, right?
Dang right.
Yeah, if you got something that's really means something to you, you better have it locked up nowadays.
I've got it buried, so it's not just readily accessible if anybody does happen to see it.
Hey, look, you like me, you hide stuff, and you forget where you hit it.
I do that all the time.
Oh, wow. All right, well, there's got to be a backstory on how you got that in your possession.
Yes, how did you get that?
He gave them to us personally, to the police department. He came and did a rally in down in my city, and he personally handed us.
Oh wow.
Damn, that's impressive.
The second most interesting challenge coin I got is this one. Anybody recognize that symbol? DA's heard this story. Anybody recognize that symbol?
No.
Demolition Ranch.
Oh wow.
If you want to know that this is 100% accurate, he did a video, and everybody knows Demolition Ranch, right?
Yeah.
Matt Character.
Yeah.
Okay. He did an episode one time where he was trying out the gun miss from Deadpool 2, I think, whichever one Josh Brolin was in with him. They were trying to do the one where he dove in front of the bullet, and the challenge coin stopped the bullet. So he was like, I'm gonna randomly put this in somebody's order. I didn't think about it. A couple days later, I made an order for this and 2 more shirts. It gets there, and that challenge coin. This is the challenge coin he shot in that video.
Wow.
So that's almost as cool as the other one. I was like, oh my god, that's that challenge coin. I went back and watched the video again. So,
Man, that's cool as crap.
but then besides that one, this is probably one of my favorites. See who that is on there? I don't know. I can get where
Blair's on it pretty bad.
it's Gunny, Arlie Ermy.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
From when he was sponsored by Glock. So
That's cool.
I got some pretty nice challenge coins. Some with some pretty cool stories.
You know, it's amazing that some of the people you get to meet. Man, one of the most interesting guys that I got to talk with, and he came and gave a speech to our Republican committee or our Republican Party here in the county I live in. But we had Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He flew here.
Arpaio, yeah.
Arpaio, whatever. And look, dude, I got one of his books, and he autographed it for me and all that. But that was so cool to meet Sheriff Joe.
I bet.
Man,
I'd like to meet him.
I've got a booger rock from Kumbo, but it's not autographed like Abby's is.
No doubt. Yes. I still say if that rock Kumbo gave you, it weighed 700 pounds, you would have went and rented a skid steer to loaded it.
I tell you what, if people could have been there and seen him, and he was talking to me, and then he walked past me to hand Squirrel the damn rock, that very first one. If people could have seen me at that time, it would have been an inopportune moment because I was not my normal self.
Yeah, your bottom lip turned inside out.
kind of like me and DA were when he just stuck his head in
Just being us.
that night in the LBL. Naomi had been trying to find him all day to introduce us, and we're sitting there talking back and forth for the show, and I see somebody walking up, and it's dark and there was light shining in my eyes, so I couldn't see. I tried to look and I said, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were somebody else." I said, "Sorry." I said, "We're just getting ready to do a podcast." And he goes, "Well, I'm Kumbo Baker," and DA's like,
What? Yeah. I was freaking out.
So he stuck his head in, said hey to DA, and said hey to me and everybody. It was just like, I said,
he's doing a lot
been
better
trying
now.
all day to find you to introduce us, and you just wander up over here while we're getting ready to do the show.
Oh man.
Well,
I talked to him one night. I was trying to think. One night last week, he called me. It was pretty late, and we were talking about how he was feeling and this and that. And he asked me about my little girl Abby. He said, "Is Abby in the bed?" I said, "Well, she just went to bed." And he goes, "Will you tell her Uncle Kumbo said sweet dreams?" I said, "I will. I'll tell her in a minute." But man, it still floors me because when I met Kumbo and got introduced to him, I didn't realize he was like a Bigfoot celebrity. He was just a dude that was from here close to me, and we hit it off. And man, I tell him all the time, I give him hell about being like the Elvis of the Bigfoot community.
And that's something right there. On a serious note, Kumbo posted about it on the Facebook page. But for anybody that might be listening, if you were at LBL when we had the meet and greet, if you got a tick bite, he had a pretty serious tick-borne illness. Bama is saying that the doctor made Kel take antibiotics.
Yeah.
If you were there and you got a tick bite, you should probably have it checked, y'all.
Especially if it starts turning red.
Oh yeah, makes a bullseye. A lot of times it'll make a bullseye around it.
That'd be limes.
It'll be
Spotted fever is a little bit different, and I think that's what they thought Kumbo had.
Tick-borne illnesses are no joke. Whenever we go out, because there's a lot of ticks in Missouri. Whenever we go out, we always soak our boots with DEET and the lower parts of our pant legs. Hell, I've even like my snake gaiters. I've even sprayed the shit out of them. And, I don't like ticks, and how I avoid a lot of ticks and mosquitoes is I eat a lot of garlic, and they do not like it.
I'm a garlic connoisseur. Spencer, have you ever tried that, putting those kerosene soaked rags around your ankles?
No.
That'll keep sugar ants from crawling up your legs and eating your candied ass.
Did you know during the Civil War, kerosene and water was how they controlled life?
What was that? A delayed response? I couldn't hear DA because you had to cackle in at that moment. What, DA?
I said during the Civil War, a mixture of kerosene and water was how they would kill lice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Brush it into their hair.
I saw that Civil War hat you had the other day. That was good looking.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, before we get off here, also got to ask about this, much to my chagrin. DA and Robby, you ever seen anything real life in the real world that made you think dogmen were real?
I've seen a dogman in LBL. Broad daylight.
No. Yeah, no, you can't just jump to it like that. I've seen a dogman.
I don't need to suspect that they're real. I saw one with my own two eyes.
Well, we didn't talk about that the last time you were on the show. You want to run through that real quick, pretty please?
Sure. A couple years back, I'd been planning a trip to LBL for a while. Talked my wife into doing it, and we stayed in a cabin there in Grand Rivers. And Nick Valente, him and I were both part of the International Dogman Project at that time. Nick said he'd meet me there. I was there for about a week, but I got there a couple days before Nick. So I was running around all over LBL by myself for a couple days before I knew how stupid that was, especially late at night. But on our last day there, Nick and I were driving back from DeMumbers Bay, and we were doing 3 or 4 miles an hour, just creeping down that narrow ass road.
Yep.
And when you're coming back from DeMumbers Bay toward the Trace, there's that little concrete bridge over that little slough.
Yes,
we
sir.
had just passed that. We were maybe 50 to 100 yards on the other side toward the Trace. And we're looking back on, he's looking on the driver's side, or the left side, I'm looking on the right side. And what we were looking for is those primitive campsites. We want to go back to some of those campsites and look for, stuff that had been abandoned or, tracks in any of these campsites. I wasn't specifically looking for a creature. We were looking for, maybe a witness or an abandoned campsite, just things like that. We're looking for physical evidence. And as we're driving, and Greg, and I'm sure you know too, Spencer, every deer I've ever shot in my life, the only reason I saw it was because it moved.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
As we're driving down this section of road, just back off the road, and it's clear enough I can see straight to it. I just kind of glanced over something that didn't register what I was looking at because it was sitting still. But when it turned its head to follow us, to track us, I keyed in on that movement, and then I immediately saw it. I got a good solid look at it for about 15 to 20 seconds. And then by the time I got Nick stopped, and Nick saw it for about 10. But this thing was standing next to a tree with its right arm on this tree. And it had its hand against the tree, just like you ride lean against the wall. And it was just standing completely still. It was completely black, and it was under the shadows of the trees is why I didn't notice it at first. But once it turned its head, that's when I noticed it. And the head was shaped like a wolf. And this didn't look like a wolf man. It didn't look like an upright person. It looked like an upright dog. It looked, had the shoulders were more, tucked in like a dog if it was standing on its hind legs, but it had hands. I saw the tail. I saw the hawk legs. Just as soon as I keyed in on it, I could see these details. I couldn't see its eyes, but as it was turning its head, I could see the definition of the face. The head was like a wolf. It had the big pointed ear, like a German Shepherd or a wolf had the big pointed ears, but the snout was shorter and blunt, more like a Rottweiler or a Mastiff. It wasn't long and angular like a wolf or a coyote or a German Shepherd. It was blunter and shorter. And of course, when Nick got the vehicle stopped and saw it, he's like, "Holy crap!" Got up screaming and hollering, like a lunatic. And once that thing realized we had both seen it and the vehicle stopped, it turned and took off toward this little ravine. It went down toward the lake. And it did the weirdest kind of run. It didn't, like if you or I were trying to run from somebody, we just as fast as we go, in a straight line. This thing kind of bounded to a little bit to its right, bounded to its left, bounded to its right again, and then right down that ravine. And it was gone in a flash. Of course, we jumped out and went chasing after it like idiots, and we could hear it, crashing through the trees down through the tree that ravine, and that ravine was deep enough. We weren't going after it without ropes, and at the time I was still trying to recover from the back injury, so I was mostly walking with a cane. So it wasn't none of me getting my big butt down that ravine. So we started to look for tracks, and the leaf litter on the ground was so thick all we could find was impressions where it had been. Yeah. So I go over to the tree, the exact tree where I'd seen it. And I estimated in my head where its hand was in relation to one of the branches above it. And I reached up and put my hand in the same spot. And it was significantly above my head, but not where I couldn't reach it. I'm 5'10", so I estimated this thing was about 6.5 to 7 feet tall because I could touch the spot. I just couldn't, it wouldn't be comfortable for me to lean against it. It would be too high. So it was good size. It probably weighed between 200 and 300 pounds, and it was stupid fast.
Man, I'm sorry I asked that question. All right, Robby, you ever seen anything about Dogman?
Yeah, I told you last time I was on here about what I'm pretty sure that was a Dogman I was looking at in that little area that I told you about.
Yeah,
because like I said, where we thought was about 2 or 3 inches off the ground, when we went back the next day in the daylight, and I started leaning my head down, and Tyler said, "Stop." My head was about 2 to 3 feet off the ground. So whatever this was leaning down and looking up at us like it was trying to kind of crouch behind the tree. And it didn't run. It didn't. Now, it did when the other one made noise up behind us and we all turned our attention to it. It took off, but it didn't run when we were all confronting it. And I couldn't see what it was, but it was the eye shine was like if you shine your flashlight on your dog's eyes, that's what I saw. That type of eye shine.
My first night in LBL, like I said, I was driving around all over the place by myself. My wife and my middle son stayed at the cabin we'd rented, and I went into LBL. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I drove down to DeMumbers Bay. Wasn't anybody camping down there. Nothing going on. So, in DeMumbers Bay, there's that concrete ramp that goes down to launch boats. I parked my van nose down on that where the headlights were playing out over the lake, and I left it running. And I got out and I walked down to the edge of the water, hoping to find tracks at the edge of the water. And I didn't see anything right there. The ground was too rocky, and of course there's the concrete. So I kind of went off to the left of that ramp, and I didn't really realize how far I'd gotten from the ramp. I'd followed the shoreline down a ways, and I got the stupid idea of trying to play a predator call. So I got my phone out. I didn't have a Bluetooth or anything. So I got my phone out, and I had a dying rabbit call saved. So and you know how sound travels over water at night?
And a dying rabbit call bring in a lot of stuff.
I played that dying rabbit call, and I heard it echo out across the water. And I'm like, holy crap, that was loud, because, like I said, I wasn't using a Bluetooth speaker. It was just a speaker on my phone. And I played it once or twice more. And then I started hearing things coming at me in the woods, and they were coming fast. And I looked over and saw the headlights of the van, realized how far I was, and I didn't have a gun on. So I'm like, well, maybe I ought to get my ass back to the van. So I'm start hauling ass over there. And again, I hear stuff coming at me in the woods, and it's from 3 different directions. I get back over to the van, jump in, slam the door, lock the van, throw that sucker in reverse, and I back up and play my headlights as I'm turning around across the woods right there. and there were 6 sets of green eye shine staring at me from the woods.
Wow.
And they weren't not low. They were not low to the ground. They were pretty high up.
Okay. So not deer then.
No, they were probably 7-8 feet off the ground, every one of them. Ooh. And it was at that point I'm like, maybe I had to go back to the cabin for the night.
Yeah.
Well, on the eye shine deal, there's a lot of people. I hear a lot of people saying in the past couple of years about seeing dogmen and the amber or yellow glow from the eyes, and versus boogers, which are typically reported as having a red glow. Typically, if you had to look at it overall. But then there are a lot of eyewitnesses that say whenever they saw boogers up close and personal, could really see the face, that the eye was predominantly black or dark brown. They didn't see any whites of the eye. And the eye shine thing, I could be completely wrong on this, but I think that a lot of it has to do with the light that is hitting them. Is it a halogen? Is it a LED? Is it an incandescent? Is it firelight? Is it moonlight? All that kind of stuff. But like green eye shine, there's a lot of animals that have. Yeah, specifically. I know. I mean, I see my dogs outside all the time, and they will have yellowish to green eye shine, but their eyes are dark brown. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people get that confused, the difference between the eye shine and the actual eye color. It depends on. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, eye shine, the technical term for it is tapetum lucidum, and that's humans right. Humans don't have it. It does not exist in humans. But even among a species like, for example, dogs, the color can vary depending on their diet and also light conditions, like you're saying. But diet does have a direct effect on the color of their eye shine.
Really? Mm-hmm. I've never heard that before.
The one guy that I know he pulpwooded, he was a logger for years. When he came to me and approached me, telling me what he saw, him and his girlfriend, they saw basically 2 dog men over here in the forest. One was on each side of the road, and he swears that their eyes were blue, like an electric blue, very, very blue. And he said they were big as like the round reflectors that people put on the little post by their driveway. He said they were that big, and he said they were just really, really, really blue. And I said, "You sure?" He said, "No, they were blue." And him and her both were adamant that it was a blue eye shine.
The best that we can do is just like talk about this kind of stuff and compare notes and everything.
Yeah.
And hopefully more people, the more people that you have adding information to it, the better the turnout's going to be. But I mean, that's the best we got. Speaking of all this kind of stuff, DA, when's your next book coming out? What's it about? All that blah, blah, blah.
I'm about 65,000 words in, which means I'm close to wrapping up my current project. It's the third in the series of the Dark Frontiers books about Declan Kane and his group. It's called Dark Frontiers Cry of the Wendigo. And I'm, like I said, about 65,000 words into it. I'm hoping to have it into edits by Monday or Tuesday. And depending on how long it takes to get the cover and the edits done, I'm hoping to be releasing in the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
Do you think there's anything about the Wendigo? I mean, like how much do you believe that the Wendigo mythos is a real thing?
Considering the number of sightings and that it's not just one tribe that believes in the Wendigo, there's lots of different versions of that type of creature. So I believe I put a lot of stock in that. I don't just dismiss Native American wisdom because a lot of it's proven to be true.
Yeah,
so I think the Wendigo is definitely out there, but I don't think it's a cryptid. I think it's more supernatural.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, look, we didn't even hardly touch on that. We didn't even touch on Misty. I mean, that's her deals with supernatural. We're gonna have to have her back, and actually, we're gonna have to get a script on supernatural.
Don't be trying to touch on me, Greg.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, no.
Greg has Bigfoot experience. Ricky is all into the supernatural. I just ask annoying questions.
Yes, but no, I mean, hey, look, when we do the Spook Fest episode, Misty starts talking about seeing all the stuff coming out and talking to her, and that creeps me out. I just seem not see none of that.
Oh, yeah.
DD, I think, yes, it does. Depending on what kind of light you're carrying, like Spence was saying. I mean, halogen light versus LED light. Yeah, I think it definitely makes a difference. What I typically carry, and I don't know if it has any effect on the actual color of the light. I'll show it to you. I'm sure Greg's familiar with one of these. This is my old patrol light from when I was still a cop. It's a Streamlight ProTac HL5.
Oh,
3,500 lumens. Watch what happens when I point it at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is a super bright light, and that goes with me in the field all the time. And it's an LED bulb, and it'll get hot though.
And the angle that you're shining the light at makes a difference. That goes into.
I've got different color eye shine from my dog in the backyard in the same night. I mean, you're fixing them at a side angle. They look kind of greenish white. Dead on, they're bright green. I mean,
that goes into what I was saying earlier about Greg talking about part of it, like it seemed like the light was absorbed, but he could still see the overall thing. How much of this stuff is it's getting down into the weeds with like, it's the type of light that you use and the angle that you hit it at, versus how the animal is moving and the ambient light outside. I mean, to Robby's point, do they have adapted camouflage that is used
the latest generation of ghillie suits have fiber optics built into them because fiber optics will absorb and redirect the color of the light around it. Now, if it's taking directly on it, it will also help diffuse that light. So if you've got somebody with a fiber optic ghillie suit and you put a light right on them, they're going to look kind of blurry, like the light has just been absorbed by them. Those clear hair shafts do the exact same thing. What we saw when we had M.K. Davis on our show with the Freeman film is we saw a large black male Sasquatch walking, and as Freeman was filming it, it stopped in front of an evergreen tree and just disappeared. It didn't go through a port. It didn't cloak. It didn't teleport. It blended in with its background just in an instant. And he's like, where did it go? And he started moving closer to it. And once this thing realized he was still coming, it started walking again. And as soon as it stepped, there it was. You could see it plain as day. But when it was remaining absolutely still in front of that tree, you could not see it.
Do you know, though, and also I would add some of this stuff goes into, Kumbo was talking about, was it on our show? I forget what show it was. But Kumbo was talking about where he believed that's possible that they see energy and light on a different spectrum than what we do. And that's possible that they see auras. And we could go into the Calarian photography and all that kind of stuff. But point being, are they seeing energy on different level, which would explain them avoiding game cameras, us videoing them, stuff like that. And, does that come, like, is that something that's physically built into them, or is that some kind of supernatural quality? I think it's something physical that they're able to do.
Let's take house cats for an example. House cats see about 10 times more of the visible spectrum of light than we do. We're only seeing like 2% of the visible light spectrum, which means there's 98% of the light spectrum we can't even perceive. But cats see about 12 to 15%. Now, if you apply that to animals in the animal kingdom, how many times have you looked at a game camera footage and saw a deer turn and look dead at it?
Right.
I think a lot of animals can see the infrared spectrum, and we know wolves can. Wolves can see in the infrared spectrum. So it's not unheard of. It's not something new in the animal kingdom. So I think these boogers, when they see the beam of light for a game cam, they're seeing that beam of light and they'll avoid it. Much like, and I know Kumbos mentioned this too. People will come home from work and find that their security camera, their security lights, their motion sensor lights have been pushed up.
Yes.
Why would it do that? Or they, and in some cases, and this is I've seen this here in Missouri. People would go out at the edge of their property and find sticks shoved in the ground right at the edge of where that sensor comes on.
And in Oklahoma, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, why would those sticks be there if they didn't know where it was?
Well, and going back to your theory of light perception and absorption and everything, it might not necessarily be because they're avoiding the lights so that they don't trigger them and let us know. It might be because the lights hurt their eye, or they're avoiding it because they're like, oh, that blinds me.
Yeah.
Well, one theory that Robby and I have kicked around, and we've all talked about it on our show, and we'll run it at the flagpole and see what y'all think too, is if you look at the map of the missing 411 and then superimpose that over a map of cave systems, they're virtually identical. So we think these things are largely subterranean. That's why they're so difficult to find. I think they spend a lot of time in these caves. They've traveled deep. USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey, have done expeditions into the Mammoth Cave system, and 2 and 3 days into the expedition are finding old camping gear. That's not possible for just someone to wander that far. So these things are going deep, and Robby and I think that not all of the wood knocks are done wood on wood. We think some of it's done with a tongue pop, and that can be used for echolocation. There are blind people who have taught themselves to echolocate just by clicking their tongue. And if we can teach ourselves to do it, these things damn sure can.
We're going into deep stuff now, y'all.
Woohoo! Down the rabbit hole, baby.
Hey, yeah, we could go really deep into that hole. I mean, I could throw some stuff in there and be like, huh.
Well, the USGS recently released that they suspect the Mammoth Cave system runs from Maine to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico and possibly farther. There's a super highway right there.
Really?
Yep. And when I was a kid, Bennett Springs, just about 40 miles from here, has an underground spring that comes up. They wanted to know where the other end of that spring was. So they dropped radioactive marker dye into that spring. And they wanted, it was heavier than, the molecules were heavier than water. It goes into the spring, flushes into the system. Then they just waited. They put out the frequency that this marker dye would give out, and they waited. 6 months later, that marker dye that they dropped into a spring in Missouri surfaced in Alaska.
Wow. That's crazy.
On that. Yeah.
All right. We'll throw this in the rabbit hole. We'll throw this in there. And one of our friends he's brought this up a few times, and other people have talked about it. But okay, let's just say that there were beings from another planet came here. And let's say that they brought these creatures, Bigfoot, dogmen, whatever. Let's say that they were coming here and that they were mining ore, precious metals, uranium, gold, whatever, something that they needed. It was here. Well, if they came here and they brought these, say, boogers with them, well, they needed something that was really strong, something that could see in the dark, something that could live off of whatever. And they had them here and had them as, let's say they used them for mining. They were going in these holes in the ground. Well, first off, I mean, their strength, their, just stamina or whatever. What if these things were brought here to mine ore, and then whoever was in charge of them left, and they left some of them here, and they've been here for millions of years or whatever. I mean, that's how deep in the rabbit hole some of the theories that people sling out at us. And who knows?
It's entirely possible. We know these things have been here a long time. I mean, look how far back in now, granted, the phrase dogman wasn't coined until the mid-90s, and the phrase Bigfoot wasn't coined until 1957. Yeah. So before then, they referred to them as wolfman or wild man or werewolves. But these stories like, for example, Dogman, the cynocephali, the creatures with the head of a dog. They go back to the Roman military. They go back to ancient Greece and northern Africa. Both the Roman army and the armies of Alexander the Great talked about finding and fighting these things in the Indus Valley in India and then in northern Africa. So these things have been reported for a very long time. Catholic iconography shows Saint Christopher as the dog-headed saint. It was said that he had the head of a dog until he performed his first miracle. Both Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus documented seeing cynocephali on their journeys, claimed that they saw them on islands when they were picking up fresh water. So it's not; these aren't new sightings. Same thing with bookers.
Leif Erikson, North America.
Yeah,
Railings.
Yeah, like Ray said, the Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Look, this was supposed to be a funny show, and y'all go way off on the Dogman thing. Stop it.
You brought it up.
Yeah.
You brought it up.
I had to.
You damn narcissist.
Tell him he brought it up.
You narcissist. Create the problem and then whine about it.
I love it.
I bet you do.
Misty, make a note. You're going to have to get him some kerosene-soaked rags.
Yes.
Stop it, Hal. Well,
I'd set his little ice on fire.
She would too. She'd light a match to that. D.A., Robby, you got anything else you want to go into? Robbie's like, are you finally talking to me? No, I don't really have anything else.
Well, hey, before we do get off here, we want these guys to tell everybody about what their show is, how to find it, where to find it, when to find it.
I think Missy created a banner.
Do what now?
Tell about your channel and where to find it.
Oh. Well, other than finding me on DAX Machina every Wednesday and Saturday night, you can find me on YouTube at What's Really Out There, which is on the bottom of the screen, which we like to joke around and call DAX Machina Light. It's a little bit shorter version of most. We talk about the same stuff there, Johnny and I do, that we talk about on DAX Machina. We got close to 50 episodes now, a little over 500 subscribers, so we're slowly growing it. But over to DA so he can tell about our other show.
500 subscribers. Y'all jump on there.
Yes.
Y'all jump on there and join Robby's show. Damn.
Absolutely. Make sure you click that like, share, and subscribe button. Y'all know me as I'm D.A. Roberts. I'm an author and
Lock it, by the way.
I'm sorry. What was that? Misty, what'd you say?
I'm sorry, I'm cutting out. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I didn't hear what you said.
She doesn't even know what she said. Calm down.
I think she said I like it, by the way. I think that's what I got.
Out.
What? That means Misty can't talk right now. I can talk all the crap I want to. Anyway, sorry, DA.
No problem. No problem at all.
Ex Machina.
Yeah, I'm a Amazon best-selling author. I've got 31 books currently in print with 32 about to drop.
Wow.
You can find me at daroberts.net. You can find all of my books there. You can find links to the podcast there. You can find all of my work on Amazon. You can find me on pretty much every social media at DA Roberts Author. Or you can find us twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central on DAX Machina at youtube.com/DAX Machina podcast. And if you're interested, you can read a lot of stuff in advance before it's even released. You can catch sneak peeks of books and a lot of short stories before they're ever published on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/DA Roberts Author.
Awesome. Hey, what does Ex Machina mean?
Well, it's a literary term. You ever watch all those old movies where the character would get himself into a corner and it was basically an act of God would happen and save their life where they should have died? Well, that's called Deus Ex Machina. It means machine of the gods. It's an old literary term. It's kind of a trope among writers. And when I first started doing this show, I wanted to profile not only my own writing, but a lot of other writers as well. And we've kind of gotten away from that. We're more cryptids now than we are anything else, but we are going to be bringing some other authors back on again soon. We've had some pretty big names, like Jonathan Mayberry was on. He's an awesome dude. Alan Gamboa, another awesome dude. But we've had quite a few writers on. But the term Deus Ex Machina comes from Deus Ex Machina. And I wanted something that was kind of alliterative toward my writing career. And whereas Deus Ex Machina means machine of the gods, DA Ex Machina is more like the machine of DA.
Oh, okay. Now we know.
Which will be, Doc, how do I keep this guy alive? Did I mess him up too bad?
Yeah, I do a lot of Doc was a combat medic, and I do a lot of when I'm writing, like at 2:00 in the morning. I'll be like stop and look at the page and go, oh, and I'll text Doc. I'm like, hey, a-hole, are you awake? And usually he's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, wrote myself into a corner. How do I save this guy? And I'll send him like 2 pages, and he'll like, oh, he's boogered, he's screwed. You're gonna have to go ahead and fix this. So Doc's all my medical expertise. So anytime you see any of my characters get shot up, I've probably been on a lengthy phone call with Doc, making sure I was doing the medical treatment right and that they could pull through. I also do something weird that a lot of writers don't do. I have a big desk here. I've got 3 monitors. And when I'm writing a fight scene, especially with the codename Wild Hunt, but any of the books I do where I'm writing a fight scene, I have multiple notepads with the names of everybody involved on those notepads, everybody that's involved in the gunfight. And whenever they shoot, like I'd say, like Margolin from the Wild Hunt series, right. Like if Margolin fires 3 rounds, I will put 3 tick marks next to his name. And when I reach the capacity of his magazine, I will make him change magazines in the book. Because I want the characters to do exactly like they would. I don't want the old classic joke of somebody fired their Glock 35 times before changing the magazines.
Right. We need more people like you in Hollywood then, and make it a lot more believable.
You're right. They're missing out. Somebody's missing out on billions of dollars worth of revenue for the movie that could be the movies, plural, that could be made off of this man's books.
Thanks, man.
And I want to say also, after watching their show, I looked up Doc's little mini trauma kits because I carry a trauma kit all the time with me. That's some really good stuff. I don't have any way to tell everybody that they should go over there and look at it. DA has it on his channel, but I'm
Dark Angel Medical.
What is it?
Dark Angel Medical.
That's some good stuff right there, y'all. Yeah.
If you're going to be going out in the woods, bookering or hiking or camping, you better have a good kit.
Yes. If you don't know how to use
angelmedical.com, be the difference.
There you go. Go check all that out, because if you don't know how to use a tourniquet or whatever, sucking wound seals, anything like that, you should know if you're going out and actually looking for this stuff, deep dark woods. But anyway.
Look, I want to know, Spencer, why don't we have Woodwalker challenge coins? I mean, because we're like mentally challenged. We need challenge coins.
I've been looking into getting some for us too. But I do have these.
What is that?
Oh, that's cool.
From my Team Odin series, my Codename Wild Hunt series.
Oh my God. Dude. Look, I want a prize. I
want one of those.
I've got to have one.
We'll work something out. I've got a few left. I've got to order more, but I still got quite a few left.
Oh, I got one of those on my body armor that I wear at work every day.
Oh,
there you go. Oh, that's cool as hell, Robby.
That's awesome.
I've got one. I've got a jacket with Velcro tabs on the side. I've got one on the sleeve of one of my jackets. And I was in Walmart the other day, and granted, Team Odin is a fictional team. I made it up. I had the patches made myself. Those are from my books. And the reason I made up a team like that is because we hear so many stories about special forces showing up at booger sightings. Yeah. And it just made sense that if there's a team out there that's hunting these things, they'd be high-end military. There you go. Well, I have one of those patches on my jacket. And I was in Walmart the other day picking up a prescription, and this guy walks up to me, and I don't know this guy from Adam. And he goes, "Hey." And I looked at him. I said, "Yes, sir." And he points at the patch on my shoulder, and he goes, "I've heard of them. That's badass." And he walked off. I'm like, The hell is this guy talking about?
Hey, look, Spencer. What? Look, that's the patch that Steve Lilly got, right?
I know it,
That's the
right?
exact
That's
one.
why. That's why I want one. Yes.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. I can't think of DA's
Oh.
stuff without thinking of Steve Lilly. That's how I learned about it.
I'm working on 2 more Steve Lilly stories too.
Man.
Oh,
It's like
you can't
it's like
drop
Christmas.
that at the very end.
It's like Christmas, dude.
Spencer,
I want those patches.
if y'all saw some of the stuff that I've seen that the sheet of paper that he's got with the ideas that are still y'all would be
That
like,
to be written. I've got my next 50 books planned.
Wow.
DA, can you
I
make
have
a
time
book
to write
based off of? Can you make a book based off of 3 idiots that are on YouTube all the time that always actually go out and look for these things and probably get themselves snatched up and eaten and torn apart and everything? That'd be cool. That'd be
you know what
Well,
what series they would be good in, don't you?
Funny you should say that. I've got a book in the works called The Nightmare Hunter. I've already got the first book of the series.
knew
out. It is exactly about that. It's about a guy that's going around investigating things and gets in over his head because they turn out to be real. And there are a few people in this community that will be making cameos in that series. As this guy goes to investigate stuff and runs into these people that are out. Yeah, I've already was planning on talking to y'all if you mind doing a cameo in a book or 2.
Because Greg is the one that's always going, y'all are stupid. Stop. Let's go back to the man cave. And Squirrel, you can't contain her. She goes off on her own.
Greg, you've read the Lakeview Man series, haven't you?
No.
You haven't read Lakeview Man? Ooh.
No, I've got to. I do. You got so much out there. I don't have time to read. I've got to brush up.
I introduced a character in the second book of the Lakeview series that the Nightmare Hunter series is about.
Okay.
Okay.
And he I don't want to spoil it because I want you to read it. But in Lakeview Man 2, he gets grabbed by a squatch, and how he gets out of it is pretty comical.
Oh man. Look
I
here.
think you guys will enjoy it.
Well, I've had a couple times I thought I was going to be the guy that got grabbed by one.
Well, I think you'll like that bit.
Golly.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something, DA. I've heard these two kicking around stuff and saying stuff. They're both gonna once they read it, they'll both that part you're talking about. They're both gonna appreciate it because I've heard them talk that exact thing happening or using, and so they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that!"
Wow. That's cool.
All I got to say, everybody, is look, we got to get DA and Robby on whenever it's a late night thing. No kids involved. Going to be a graphic adult only show. We got to do the whole law enforcement thing and let y'all see what they're like behind the scenes and everything like that.
Oh, we're crazy.
Thank y'all. Yeah, well, join the club. Thank you for doing the show. If you got anything else to add, you add it now. For everybody that was in chat and everything, thank you very much for showing up. Appreciate y'all being here. Check out Robby and DA's channel. Pretty please. Thank you, Pat.
Hey, and Spencer, we always tell everybody, to please, well, sometimes we do, most time we forget it, but, we tell everybody, hey, if you like us, hit that like button. It's absolutely free. But here's another thing. All our folks that's on here, we got the greatest people that find us entertaining anyway. But I'd like to ask all these folks, hey, look, if y'all know somebody that enjoys watching a bunch of crazy people and likes to laugh, share us over to a buddy, a friend, 1 or 2. You ain't got to send it to everybody but just if you got a buddy that you think needs his day brightened up, wants to get a good chuckle, send it over and tell them, hey, check these folks out.
Hey, and also for everybody that joined the YouTube channel and the Facebook page in the past few days, I can only assume that a lot of it had to do with Greg being on DA's channel. But for everybody that's new, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Hope you like what we're doing. And leave us a comment or something. Tell us if you like it. Tell us if you want to see something different. If you've had any real experiences, of course, hit us up on the email or the Facebook, or message us on Facebook, any of that kind of stuff. But anyway, thanks y'all so much for doing the show. Thank you everybody that was watching and commenting and everything. And we'll see y'all next week. Appreciate it, y'all.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, no, man. Thank you. Bye.
Big love,
Squirrel, say goodbye.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Squirrel.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Spencer. We're swapped around again.
Huh?
We're swapped around again. Hold on.
Yep. I know you do it on purpose.